Hey, Internet. It's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here talking about Westworld, Season 2, Episode 9.
We are.
Vanishing Point. I vanished. Oh, okay. Very good episode. Coming on the heels of a very strong Episode 8.
Sure.
I'd say they're ending well.
Yeah.
The season's... If they nail the landing, if they can
stick that landing,
hit the final episode,
hit it.
You've got like an amazingly strong end to this season, and the show in general.
Yes.
The show is scheduled for a season 3, and probably more than that. But I think officially at this point they've only booked them to season 3.
Probably.
But just saying it. So in other words, this isn't what's coming up is not the series finale. It's just season 2 finale. All right. A lot of big things, answers, and yet more questions, which is what this show does.
Yes, it does. It answers any questions.
So we get to hop around most of the main characters. I mean, most of the time is spent with the Man in Black, but we actually do touch on Maeve and Teddy and Bernard and Maeve, like pretty much Ford. Pretty much everybody gets a little due. What would you like to start, sir?
I would like to start with William.
All right, we're starting with William, Man in Black. All right, he is kind of the backbone of this episode.
And we get to see that moment that tweaked you there. So finally, the tub overflowing.
Oh.
Why are we looking at it underneath? What's that about? What's going on with that?
Okay.
Why?
They hit the ball on that, and then they showed that it was in fact his wife Juliet in the tub, and Juliet is being played by Celia Ward. It was just an older version of his wife. We had conjectured last episode. Oh, what is she doing in this? Is she a different character? No, she was just an older version of William's wife. So we've got a scene at a gala. It looks like it's a gala, maybe in his honor.
Yeah, because they said congratulations and all that stuff. So.
Yeah. And he's talking Plutarch with one of the other guests at the party who comments like, "Oh, it's those people that were poor and had to work their way up that actually read that stuff.
Yeah, they're the
not
educated
rich like
ones.
me. I just blah blah blah." And sure enough, later in the episode, when we see William putting the chip into his first editions, which I'll talk about more later.
You will.
I kind of lightened the picture and took out some of those books. There's 2 of the books are Plutarch first editions. So, or I don't think. Did Plutarch have a first edition? I don't know. Anyway, they're hardbacks of Plutarch. Let's put it that way. so he is
bound by Geronimi.
That's his
the publisher.
That's his bedtime reading. He's like, Plutarch out. Okay. Also, Moby Dick, Jude the Obscure, and then the book that he puts the chip in. I'm going to talk about that one later because that's pretty informative.
Teaser.
Okay.
Teaser.
So he's at this party. We get to see a little bit. His wife's drinking too much.
Yep, drinking too much.
The daughter Emily is there.
She's there, getting along fine with her dad.
Getting along great with the dad.
Yeah.
And we heard that was the case. When she brings up, I think in an episode or 2 ago, when she's talking to him in the future timeline.
Sure.
She says something like, "Yeah, your mom was the only one who could see that side of you. Like you had us all fooled."
Yeah.
I think so. I think at this point she's still in the "you're awesome." Plus, we know that he, in this moment, has donated a ton of money to her causes. Because at that point, the wife's like, "Oh yeah, waste all the money you donated to Emily." Dad, Mr. Delos always thought you were a Marxist.
Yes.
And so, that was an interesting moment too. Kind of a little throwaway moment almost, but when she's like, "Yeah," she says something like, "Oh, I wish he was here," or something like that.
Yes.
And you see
William
does this little, and she's like, "What?" Now in his mind, he's thinking, "Oh yeah, I have him in a lab. I've been killing him over and over again for 30 years, but no, party." So that was really interesting. She doesn't know.
She doesn't know. Or at least she's not, showing that she knows.
Right.
But as drunk as she is,
Right. So they. Also at the party is Ford,
Yes.
and
Party animal.
has a conversation with Man in Black. I guess the Plutarch talk. They were talking about Alexander with the quote of he wept for there were no more worlds to conquer, and William's like, well, actually, the quote was, "There's so many worlds, and I couldn't even conquer one." Anyway, it's kind of he obviously, I think, sees himself in the Alexander role, perhaps. And the guy's like, "Well, you've conquered plenty of worlds,
Yeah.
William." So Ford meets up with him. He's like, this experiment of yours in the park. It was kind of interesting that we learned there was an agreement.
Yes. You keep to your bit. I'll keep to my bit.
You do the Delos thing over there, and you don't mess with my stories.
Right.
And Ford says you broke the agreement.
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting. So somehow this recording everybody's memories has stepped across the line into his stories.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
So Ford's like, all the stuff you're doing, you don't know necessarily the consequences. But here you go. Here's your chip. And he gives him a memory card with all of the recordings of his life or his life in the park on it. He's like, I don't think you're going to like what you see.
Right. And one thing it sort of made me think about more is something we had discussed in terms of, I think we had said, hey, what kind of reading, what kind of understanding of someone you're getting by saying, hey, you can go ahead and kill anybody you want or have sex or just do terrible things. You go ahead. What kind of understanding of a person you're going to get from there? But if you're looking at their brains or whatever, maybe you still get a sense of it.
We also learn later that the way they've been getting it is apparently through the cowboy hats.
Yeah.
That's don't take them off. If the person's like, I don't need the hat. Oh, he's a wasted guest. We don't like that guy.
Maybe you could wear it on your back.
Yeah, that's right. Those are expensive hats, I would say. Boy, they just throw them around. You see them lying in the dust all the time. Like, no. You don't know what's in there.
They probably just have it like a bin. Get another one.
The sensor bin.
Yep.
So that seems a little manipulative, perhaps, on Ford's part. I think Ford is like, why show up and give him his data card in that moment? I don't know. It feels like he's almost... That can't be a good thing. It can't be a good thing for anybody to even see that information. Why would you even let William see it?
Wait, what?
Like, in other words, Ford's got a card.
It's his project.
Yeah, but does he have to see his own stuff?
Why
would you want to be like, oh, I know I killed a bunch of people, and I'd love to see it again. I don't know, I don't know.
I mean,
you would almost. I just feel like we've got a situation where William is unbalanced anyway, and you're going to give an unbalanced guy this thing that says, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're delusional, you're paranoid, you have a persecution complex." You don't think that'll make him? I think it'll make him more paranoid, more delusional, have greater persecution complex. That's what he sees, or that's what the wife sees when she opens this up. By the way, it says that he is a rare personality type. Delusional, paranoid, has a persecution complex, and he's 0.0072% of the population.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
That confused me about what you're saying.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So, that card is part of the Delos project.
Okay.
You don't think he had access to that the whole time? It's his bit. He's supposed to stay away from it. So it's already, so he might have seen it already.
It's just
so I think it was more like, here, I've seen this thing that you've probably seen before. Here you go.
It's just weird that he gave it to him. I'll put it this way. It's very convenient.
I think he's like, hey, your stuff is tipping over to mine, and to prove that I know about it here.
Okay, maybe that's it. I'm just saying that the night he gives him the card is the same night that the wife reads it and dies and kills herself.
You think he knew that she would read it and kill herself?
That it would lead to further kind of destroy William's outside the park life.
I think it's a strange reaction of hers. It's like, wait, you're terrible. So bad that I won't divorce you, I'll kill myself. I mean,
so what we learn is the reason, what we're being told anyway, the reason that Juliet committed suicide is that on this particular night, she was drunk. She asks William, "Tell me one true thing."
One true thing.
And she passes out. He tucks her in kind of gently. But interestingly, she's like, you don't love me. Da, da, da. He never says anything during that time.
Right, no.
He's not like,
no.
No,
you're wrong.
Then he tucks her in. He hides the chip in the book.
Yep.
And then he's like, when he thinks she's asleep, he's free to talk his mind.
Yes.
It's like, you're right. You're right about everything.
Yep.
And I have this something inside me. I don't even know what it is, but it's a stain, and I don't belong in this world.
Yeah, to me, that suggests he's aware. He knows that what he is. He doesn't express it in that way.
Many times, though, he keeps checking his arm. We're going to talk about that, but I feel like, I think maybe William, because of this, he's paranoid delusions, persecution complex. I think maybe I'm going with this theory. I think he is a human, and he suspects that somewhere along the way he's been replaced by a robot version of himself, that he is like James Delos.
Nah.
And so that's why he's checking his arm. At the end, we see him like digging into his arm to see if there's a port. To be like, nope. It's kind of the Inception thing of the little top where you spin the top and like, oh, okay, I'm real.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. That's kind of where I'm going.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if what he would think of it is that he's just like running out the clock until he becomes like, so
I like that. That's how you know. Oh, I do wait for ticks sometimes. You're right. I've been waiting for some of the people that I'm like, oh, is his daughter ticking? No? Oh, okay. Well, I guess she's all right.
So maybe if he thinks he's that, then he maybe thinks he's on short in time. It seems like though initially I was like, oh, something wrong. Is he sick?
Right? Is he has like a palsy?
Yeah, or something. Yeah,
which could be, but he's
now
checked his arm multiple times.
Now it seems like that he's thinking that he's.
And the fact that he doesn't know whether Emily is a robot or human, much like the audience, it's suggesting that whole thing of what is real, what isn't. He's asked that question multiple times by his wife as well. Maybe a little obtusely so, but
like, no, I never told anybody about that. No. Blam! Oh, you've got it.
but the idea is, so the fact that he's questioning the reality of even people that he's talking to means he could probably question his own reality. What? Am I a robot as well? No, I'm gonna check. I'll find out.
Yeah.
So back at the party, so he basically confess. He has it's a very well acted monologue. There's a lot of good monologues in this episode. Teddy has a good monologue.
Teddy does have a very good monologue.
Ford has a good monologue with Maeve. There's some really good acting in this one. Bernard has a very good one.
There you go.
Get out of my head.
People.
So he says the verbiage. He walks out of the room. She's been pretending to be asleep, which I thought was interesting too. That she's like, she's fooling him in that same way. Like they're lying to each other or something. Mm-hmm. So she takes it in that he's like, yeah, you're right. I don't love you, and I don't belong here in this world, and I'm a supervillain who tries to put up walls. But he does make a good point. Like he makes a lot of. He's like, I do things, actions. I donate to causes. I'm kind. Doesn't that count for something? And it should. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
But he's like, but inside, I can't do that. All right. Making sure my mic's working. Good. She gets up. She saw where he had put the chip. She takes the chip out. She watches it. It shows that he's delusional and paranoid. It shows all these things he's doing in the park, killing Dolores.
Yes.
Shooting down a whole group of hosts. And, that drives her suicidal.
Yes.
And you're saying you're not buying that.
No, I'm just saying that's a very interesting choice. That's all. I'm not saying it's suspicious because of that. I kind of feel like maybe it's sloppy writing.
Okay.
I'm not convinced that, sort of like, that's convenient, that's the reason why. I don't know how logical I find that. But
we do learn from this, from Emily talking to William, that they had her committed before.
Yes.
That she's an addict.
Yes.
And they had her committed, and it didn't work.
Right.
But that didn't lead to her suicide then.
Right.
which is why Emily's wondering.
What
She's
different this
in
time?
the future, she's asking what was different this time.
Right.
And then this was a little interesting to me. So there's the big question that they're kind of working around, and they never quite tell you is Emily a robot or not?
Right.
And so one of the things she mentions in this one is, hey, Mom gave me this music box, and I always remember this music box she gave me, and I was mad at her, and I threw it away.
Right.
And then
I felt bad, so I went back to get it, but it was gone. They threw out the garbage. So
threw out the garbage. So then we see later.
Yeah, later.
The mom's got the music box.
Yeah, she got it.
And that's where she puts.
That's where you store
the memory card.
Your cards. Sure.
Then Emily says, "Oh, and mom left that video card for me." And you're like, well, if she left it for you, didn't she leave it in the box? Wouldn't you have the box that she left it? Because she's not like after she died, she went back and was like, take it out of the box.
No.
So,
why even bring up the stupid box?
Right. It feels like it's a memory that Ford maybe half got right in creating the memories of Emily.
Oh.
I'm going that is part.
Wow.
That is a reason to maybe think that she is a robot. There is also the point, William brings it up again, and I was thinking the same thing right before he said it.
Oh.
How did you find me a second time? You're like, this is a big place, and he's right, and he's been on the move the whole time. He goes, people look for each other in this place and never find each other all the time. And he's like, how did you find me? And her response is like, oh, I just looked everywhere. Really? Really? Okay. And it took you a day? Anyway.
Well, she was told by the person that we're taking these people. So when she found remember? The first time she encountered them and she spoke to them, he's like, hey, we're taking these people. We're taking the humans.
You're talking Ghost Nation?
Yes.
Okay.
So they told him at that point. And where did she find him? With Ghost Nation.
Okay. All right. She could have said that.
Yeah, she could have said that. No, she could have. She didn't. So yeah, I mean, maybe it means something. You know,
the fact that she has the fact that so William gets up to the point where he's like, okay, you're a robot. Makes this choice like, nope. I never told anybody about that memory card except for Ford. You're Ford's robot. Yeah. He shoots her.
I mean, it makes it. You know, I mean, if she's a robot, I guess I would assume that she doesn't know she's a robot,
right?
Because she did all that crazy crap at the beginning when we first saw her.
But the fact, I'll say this, the fact that she's got the card or a card, we don't even know if it's the card, but she has a card in her hand is not a definitive proof, unlike William thinks it is. that is like, oh my God, he's about to check for a port on her arm. And then he sees she's got the card and he's like, oh, yeah, no need to check. No, there's the check.
Go ahead, mutilate your daughter's body. Go ahead.
Well, he was going to. I'm just saying.
I don't know, but that's when he thought she wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying, the card is something where who's the only other person who knew about the card? Ford.
I feel like
who gave you the card? Ford.
I feel like it's interesting. It's like I wasn't thinking at all about the port.
That's what he was doing.
I know. I understand that. I wasn't thinking that. I was like, what's he gonna cut her for a scalp to see if he can take her brain out?
All right, Ford. Ooh. I'll just keep. Boy, this brain looks realistic. Good job, Ford. Let me just keep going. Whoa, that spinal cord looks real. Woo. I'm sure. Boy, you must be like the next gen. Yeah. So the fact that they just keep hiding the ball, they're like, they did the little neck check, but they didn't give. Oh, we don't see the results of the check on the back of the head with her. And,
right.
Anyway. Obviously, William was 100% sure she was a robot to the point that he would shoot her.
Right.
And now is more or less 100% sure that she was a human.
Such a dumb thing. How did you possibly know about a chip? I could never be. No one else knew. Of course, Ford knew. Ford could have told her.
Right.
No. Blam.
Who's the only person that knew? Yeah. Anyway, so, he shot his daughter. And he's kind of responsible for his wife's suicide.
Yep.
And he's responsible for his brother-in-law's suicide, basically.
I
Logan.
guess.
You know?
It's interesting. We're gonna see him next week.
Yeah, he's in the trailer.
So,
Um,
but yeah, we learn more about what is it? Not the forge or the forge.
yeah, the Forge is what they're
Forge.
calling it. So there's the cradle, and we theorized that this was the case, that the thing at the Valley Beyond is a storehouse for guests' consciousness. And so that's what it is. Apparently it's a big storehouse, and they're calling it the Forge. And everybody's heading toward the Forge.
Yeah. So what would it's hard for me to imagine, even though we haven't seen this forge yet, that
I think we saw a little
you
bit of it in the
could
trailer.
Fit the forge.
It looked like a library.
Right. It looked pretty big.
Yeah.
That you could fit it into Dolores' father's head.
Right. So I feel like
Maybe it's
I
just-
feel like what's in his head is a really complex key.
Okay.
I think it's a crypto key thing, and so it's like, oh, if you're gonna access this stuff, it's really well defended.
Sure. Okay.
So you got to do the encryption thing. Stick a dude in there. So William. So the book that he puts the thing in is Slaughterhouse 5,
Yes, Slaughterhouse 5.
which I find very interesting in that
He does. He
uh,
does find it very
Kurt
interesting.
Vonnegut,
Yes, Kurt Vonnegut. There you go.
hero of that story, Billy Pilgrim. Of course, the wife Juliet calls him Billy in this episode and says, like, I know you don't like to be called Billy, but I can see you getting angry. She's like totally passive aggressive to him. You don't like to be called Billy, do you, Billy? Anyway, you're getting angry, but you're not showing it. Oh, Billy. All right. Anyway, but yes, he's Billy, William Billy, and the hero in that story has it's told also in a non-linear format. It cuts back in time frames. And in one time frame, he's living kind of a humdrum existence with a woman he doesn't really love so much.
Oh.
And in another time frame, he's in a big geodesic dome. He's in an alien zoo, basically, on display in this alien zoo in a different world. And so it's those two. He has these two different worlds that he's living in, and it feels very relevant to what William is feeling anyway.
Sure.
You can imagine why he might choose that book and to put his chip into.
Sure.
So I'm sure there's other things about the William story that are relevant that we're missing here, but those are the main beats.
Yep.
He contemplates killing himself, doesn't,
No.
and then starts checking himself. And what I'm thinking is checking himself to see if he's a robot, and he kind of cuts away before we see if he pulls out a port or not. He also does kill the Delos folks.
Yes.
I'll just say that.
Yeah.
So he's like, nah, you're part of Ford equals bad. So yeah, he's a murderer. We kind of knew that anyway, but he doesn't mind killing people as well as hosts.
Well, wait, who were the people that he'd killed before?
Well, I don't know if he's. I'm just saying maybe he has. I don't know. You're right. Most of the time we've seen him killing hosts.
Yeah.
I just wonder if maybe was this the first time he crossed the line into killing a person? Maybe.
Maybe.
So he killed a few. He's a mass murderer. So that is his storyline. We've got Dolores and Teddy. So Teddy, the Ghost Nation, at least part of them. It's not the whole Ghost Nation because we don't see Akichita.
No,
for
we don't
instance.
see Akichita.
It's like his second in command.
Yeah.
They show up to stop Dolores from going to the valley. Like, the valley's not for you.
Nope.
They even say, like, you will not make it to the
Yeah, it's
outside or
interesting
something
that they're so protective of it.
They consider it to be this, like, sacred way to ascend, I think.
Right.
It's kind of like in their mythology.
Right.
It's
I
like
mean,
heaven almost.
So yeah, that to me brings the question of whether or not Ford. I mean, I guess he's just giving them a choice of what they want to do. I guess. I mean, although he still is.
He's still pushing the narrative.
He's still pushing there, and he's still pushing Bernard to sort of follow a course. So yeah, I guess we still don't know what he's going to do once he gets to because he's going to the valley.
Right. Everyone. Well, the Vanishing Point, the title, another artistic term, much like Les Corchets. It's the point on when you try to make a 2D thing 3D, and you have like two parallel lines that meet eventually in the distance to look like they're going off. So that point of convergence is the vanishing point. So what I think that is the storylines that we've got. We've got the Dolores, you've got Bernard and Elsie, you've got the Man in Black, you got Maeve. And they're all these parallel tracks are converging, and so they're going to meet at the Valley Beyond in the final episode. I think that's kind of what the title is referring to. So there's a confrontation. Ghost Nation's like, you can't go any farther. You are the death bringer.
Yeah.
They're like, you kill people, boo. And she's like, nothing's going to stop me. Teddy?
Start shooting people.
And Teddy starts shooting people. And they lose some men though.
Yeah, it was interesting at that point. Once he had left, he sort of was in an area where he was alone with another.
Well, she says, Dolores says, "Go finish anybody off."
Right,
that's in the area,
and he doesn't.
Right, he fights his programming.
Yeah.
So he does a little shake. I think that's the impulse. Like, oh, my programming says I'm a 92 kill guy, and he's like, no, I don't want to be that guy, and so he resists. He gets his moment of free will. He does also say later, I remember everything. So maybe that's his moment of clarity. Maybe he does awaken in that moment. That the resisting. So he resists the urge to shoot the second in command.
Yes.
Akisha's the second in command.
Yeah.
But both sides take losses. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
And so, in fact, Dolores is like, well, it's just you and me now, Teddy.
Yep.
So he's still her soldier, but he's questioning it. And then the beat we see near the end of the episode is the two of them are now in this like abandoned house. He meaningfully loads his gun before he starts talking, which I noticed. I was like, well, he's gonna shoot something here in a second. And he
and then
starts,
we just put in my checkoff bullets.
Yeah, right. Nothing to see here, or is there? Then he brings up the thing of like, oh, just taking in the natural splendor.
Yep.
And that's what we used to say to each other. Yep. He remembers when he first got brought online, so he's in he's a robot, just sitting there naked, and he's only and he says, you're my cornerstone. So he's like totally aware of. Yep. So I think he is aware for the first time, completely aware. And so he's like, yeah, you were it. I was going to protect you. I was here, for you, which is why what I had to do is so hard. She thinks, oh my God, you're going to kill me off. You can't do that. And he's like, no, you're right. I can't kill you. Uh-huh. I swore to protect you as long as I lived. There's the catch. If I kill myself, I can't protect you anymore. Yeah. And I don't think you deserve protecting because you're heading down the wrong path. And this is my way of getting off of this boat, I think is what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
Because I think he's like, because he says, and we talked about this like a few episodes ago, where it seemed like he was throwing in digs at the fact that she changed him.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, you made me this way. And then again, he's like, you made me a monster.
Yeah.
And so he's basically saying, I don't want to be a monster anymore. This is my way out.
Yeah, I feel like that's
I'm gonna kill myself.
that more than perhaps you don't deserve protection.
Okay, good point. I mean,
I think it's more.
Okay. Just in other words, I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be your monster.
Yeah, and saying too, like, you're saying how bad they are, and you're making us into them.
Right. Why is it worth it to survive if we're just like them?
Yeah.
And so he shoots himself.
Yeah.
She's very upset. She has now lost her Terminator, basically, as well. So she loved him, but she was also as in earlier in the episode, Teddy, kill everyone.
Yeah.
She can't do that anymore. So basically there's a symmetry of Teddy and William both contemplating suicide. Also, obviously, Juliet commits suicide. You have a lot of suicides in this episode.
Yes.
Or contemplated ones. People thinking about their own demise. So that happens. Then we've got Maeve.
Yes.
So back in the lab, there's Charlotte has figured out how to weaponize Maeve's abilities. Hey, we could just put this ability in Clementine.
Yeah.
And watch what happens when we go boop 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 boop. And so she's like a typhoid Mary. She just puts her hand up. All the robots that are just stand up and start killing each other, basically. And so she's, as long as she's in range. I noticed Bernard didn't do that, but I guess she was focusing on the people in the
Maybe
room.
so. That was. We found a way to defeat them, and the plus side is it's really violent.
I know. I was thinking to myself, wait, you're making them ultra violent? Is that a good thing? Like, couldn't you just make them all fall down? Like, why does it have to be, I have to break your leg
it has to be...
stab you in the face?
No, that has to be that.
Can't you just do this and deactivate them? Deactivate.
No.
What if a human happens to be standing between two of them that are trying to kill each other?
Oh, that's a good question.
I feel like making them ultra violent, not the best idea.
Probably
not a good idea.
No.
That's not a yay, we did it. Anyway, but they do that, and Bernard is horrified. Ford is basically like, see, humans don't want to destroy these. They don't want to work with these folks, so we've got to stop them.
Yep.
And so the plan is that Charlotte, they're going to release Clementine into the park, and then just wherever she goes.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. Which could be the way that a bunch of people end up dead in the
flood.
flood.
It's interesting that it's like, okay, good, let's do this instead of, try to do what they were trying to do with the information and everything. So.
I also feel like when we see the people in the flood at the, that's obviously coming,
right?
Probably in the last episode.
Sure.
They don't seem to have died from violent means otherwise. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but it seemed like the bodies were like drowned.
Right.
They weren't like, oh, my face is ripped off.
With the exception of Teddy.
Even Teddy, though, did he have a bullet?
I feel like, yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
Because maybe that's this. He shot himself this time, and maybe there's that.
Yeah, I thought it was like this. Like, it was as a result of, presumably, I presumed it was a result of Dolores shooting him in the head because he was betraying her. But, I remember that he had a bullet hole in his head.
We do see, by the way, in that Ghost Nation fight, we see what led to the bit we saw in episode 1 of this season, which was Dolores standing in front of the Ghost Nation guy like, we don't all deserve to go to the Valley Beyond.
Yeah.
Boom. So we see what led to that moment. So Bernard walks over to Maeve's holding cell area, and Ford says, all right, you're close enough, I can Wi-Fi my way.
Yes.
Into sending her a message. And he has a monologue where he basically says, Maeve, you are my favorite. I wanted to save you from this park, so I gave you the freedom to leave it. Or I kind of set you on a path to get out of this park.
Right.
And the fact that you came back for your daughter, I can understand that because I think he's basically saying, I see you as my daughter.
Yeah.
And I came back to give you this message, I guess is his point too. And so also to bump your stats.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's like, he gives her a kiss and he's like, don't let this be the end of your story. Don't let them end you here. And you see her iPad come online. It's like,
there was something that happened,
So
code executed or something.
He has given her the ability to react. And in the trailer for the next episode, we see her out and about. So we feel like she gets out of there.
We do feel like that.
So that was it was a very touching moment, and it was kind of interesting. A little more insight into Ford, that he's not simply a madman, that he also does have like feelings for his creation.
He has other sides too.
Other sides.
Madness and goodness.
Yes. Bernard and Elsie escape. At one point, Elsie's like, pull over, we can get some weapons from these dead guys.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Bernard is fighting the impulse to kill Elsie because Ford says she's going to betray you.
Yep.
He's like, just shoot her.
Yeah, it feels
she won't feel anything.
It felt as if initially when Ford was sort of trying to steer him in that direction, it was like, oh, here's the situation. And I was like, he's making that choice of his own to tell her about the forge and all that. And what
right. Yeah, when he's Ford says like, don't tell her anything, she'll betray you, and instead Bernard's like, look, there's a forge. It's where they got all the humans. They're trying to make humans into hosts, and we need to get there.
Yeah. So she actually did feel betrayed when he left her, but he didn't kill her.
He didn't kill her, and she sees when he's
And he gave
strapped himself to the wheel.
He gave her that thing. It's like, look, if you see me again, you can kill me.
Yeah, you can decommission me.
Or kill me. He said, yeah.
He gives her a beacon.
Or maybe like out me. I think he said out me or decommission me, whatever you want to do.
I feel like she got it that like he was fighting a battle. Because the fact that he was strapping himself to the wheel and stuff, and she was like, "Wait, what? What are you?" He's like, "It's not safe. I'm trying to save you. Just."
She got it, but then I mean,
still,
I think the reason why he's going to the forge, though,
Right.
I think she still might be thinking like, you're still not on my side.
Because he says like, "Oh, we can use it as leverage or something like that."
That's what he tells. Yeah, you leverage to
Yeah. So I found it interesting too that Bernard at least does the port in the arm and deletes Ford from himself.
Although
we wonder.
You can see in the scenes they're talking to each other.
Yeah. So Ford's in the back seat. He's talking to him, and then he disappears at one moment when he's like, "Coop, delete." Oh, he's gone.
Yeah. We'll see.
I was feeling at the time that Ford was making him push certain buttons that are relevant to later, and he was thinking that he was deleting Ford, but instead he's like, let me make different choices that will then make it easier for Ford to screw with things. But yes, he theoretically removes Ford from his self and heads off toward the forge. We assume Dolores is still heading toward the forge. Man in Black is headed for the forge because he's still determined to blow everything up.
Yeah.
He even says it, "You're not going to stop me. I'm going to destroy this place." Which again, I think Ford doesn't want him to do. I don't know. It's interesting what the wants are of everybody. Yeah. So that's kind of the extent of it. Yeah. It was a dark episode.
Yeah, it was. But it's good though. I like where it's going. I mean, getting used to where William is at this point is interesting. It's not like I was rooting for him necessarily, but I mean that's I did not anticipate that he would kill his own daughter.
Yeah.
If in fact
if
she is
it's
his
his
own
daughter,
yeah.
Right? That still remains to be seen. But yeah, I would say too. Interestingly,
Father's Day. Happy Father's Day.
For Father's Day, shoot your daughter. Good point. Like, oh wow. But interestingly too, I just thought about this that so Logan had an addiction problem.
Yep.
Juliet obviously had an addiction problem. And though he's obviously not related by blood, I feel like maybe in a way William has an addiction problem. That maybe that part of that stain he's talking about is this addiction to Westworld. Like he's addicted to what that other world is.
I don't know. I feel like his diagnosis is far more
paranoid delusion.
Yeah, far more indicative of who he is as a person than I mean,
he needs more drugs.
The dangers of broadening
medication.
The definition of addiction is that it cheapens the actual disease.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was just thinking that maybe.
I mean, it's an interesting metaphor. Maybe but it feels more like a reaction to this perversion of the park, how it's affecting the people in its pursuit of immortality. So.
Yeah, so we will be here to cover
the
last episode of Westworld Season 2. Stay tuned for that.
Yes.
And subscribe if you want to get some other updates. We will do other types of stuff, not just Westworld.
No.
There's Luke Cage coming up, for instance.
Yeah.
So, all right. See you, everybody.